Hi everyone, my name is Anthony Violi from AV Weather Forecasts. As many of you know, I forecast my own weather, love everything about the weather. I have my own forum, I'm building my own website which should be finished in the next month or so, and I like to educate people on my beliefs on what goes on with the weather. Now, a lot of people always message me and say they want forecasts and they want me to explain things to them, but they generally find it difficult to sort of grasp what I'm talking about. So what I like to do is do some videos as time goes on, so that I can educate people with it's a bit more interactive. You can sort of explain a little bit better because people can actually see visually what I mean rather than just reading it in words. So tonight I thought I'd start here with the sea surface temperature anomaly chart. This is the chart at the moment of the sea surface temperatures. Now, anomalies means, for those that don't know, it means degrees above or below the normal, and you can see the scale down here. I'll just go down there. There's a scale there. So basically the blues, the purples, below normal. So for example, this purple spot here is negative 2.71 degrees below the normal for this time of year or for this date, and the other colours obviously are above normal. So if you went to the Atlantic here on the Canadian coast, you would see 4.17 degrees above the normal, so it's actually a lot warmer than normal. Now if you look at the global picture at the moment, you can see it's a mixed basket. It's all over the place, there's no pattern. It's indicative of a neutral year, which is exactly what we have at the moment. Just for a quick brief rundown for those that don't know, even though I've documented it before in many of my posts, if it was a La Nina, this area here, I'll just highlight it there with the mouse, would all be cooler than normal. It'd be all blue, and that would be southeast winds pushing the cold water from South America, where this purple spot is, into the basin through here. So you'd have this big cooling area through here and colder than normal water, which in turn would mean you usually have warmer than normal water here on the Australian coast. And that's why in a La Nina we get a lot of rain here in Australia, because all the warm water stacked up against the Australian coast. In fact, this area here would normally be somewhere over here, a lot closer to the Australian coast. Now obviously, if you think logically about it, the warmer the water, the more moisture content that it has. So when the winds blow from the east with the warmer water here, you would expect a lot of moisture to be pumped into the mainland here, which in turn would feed into the troughs and produce a lot of rain for Australia. On the other hand, when there's an El Nino, the cold water is all stacked against Australia. The wind flows reverse from the usual easterly coming out of South America, and they actually go this way into South America. We get strong westerly winds, and all this water here becomes warmer than normal. All along here, all through here, starts along the equator, and all around here would all be a big tongue of warm water. So that means we get very little rain here because the winds have reversed and they're going towards South America rather than coming from South America. You've got to remember, when the winds come from South America, all this warm water here will get pushed towards Australia, and of course the winds will then go onto the mainland, like I said before, and produce a lot of moisture over the country. What I'm seeing at the moment, a lot of people always ask me how I seem to think that we're going to get a lot of rain when I do my seasonal climate outlook. Now, we've had two very strong La Nina years with very heavy rainfall, record rainfall in fact, but in a neutral year, each year is different. You've got to take every year on its merits. However, this winter we've had what's called a positive IOD in the Indian Ocean, which is this area right here. You can see now it's about 2 degrees above normal. Well, all winter it's actually been this colour here. It's actually been very blue and cold, and southeast winds pushing towards Indonesia like this, sort of in that motion there, keeping any moisture that's there away from the country and giving us no rain through the interior of the country. Through a very dry winter through here, which is the reason we're starting to see a lot of heat build up, obviously because of lack of cloud and lack of rainfall. But that's gone now, and now you can see the last 4 weeks it's really warmed up, somewhere around about 2 degrees above normal at the moment, and the wind flow's reversed. We're actually getting northwesterly winds in the upper levels pushing all the moisture down into the troughs, So now we're starting to see a lot more activity across the country, which I'll show you in a moment with the latest satellite photo. Now this area here is very interesting. It's actually cooler than normal, but there is a reason for that, and that's because the pattern has been very slow to move out of a winter pattern. So what we're seeing, instead of seeing east to northeasterly winds, which we normally would see at this time of year coming from here, feeding all this warm water down, we've actually seen southeasterlies come out from here, and that's kept all this cooler water on the east coast of Australia, and it's actually kept Queensland relatively dry this winter. They have had some rain, but they haven't had a lot of rain, especially coming into December now. They should start to see a fair bit of activity, but they're not. At the moment it's quite dry, and that's because of the wind flow. But my forecast is for that to change. I think all this water here, which is warmer than normal, will slosh this way and get pushed by these southeasterly trades that are developing here. They're developing here because the cold water is getting stronger here, which means that should push all this over to here. And you can see the warm spots starting to show up now in the Coral Sea and the Tasman Sea here and the Pacific. So I don't think it's going to be too long before we start to see much warmer than normal water here, and then the wind flow will turn northeasterly, and then we should start to see a lot of rain from both directions of Australia, and that generally means rainfall for the whole country. So that's basically in a nutshell what the sea surface temperatures are doing. I'll keep you updated on other weather forecasting and climate news. So for now, I'll sign off.